Welcome back from that short break. I know we promised let's dive straight into the Nigerian Stock Exchange and analyze how things went down as of yesterday. It's me, Gloria, together with
Victor, and that is right, Gloria. Well, as per yesterday, it marked the start of this trading week on the Nigeria Securities Exchange, and we saw some interesting movements in the market.
Exactly.
So to begin with, a total of 268,663,822 shares exchanged in hands within 6,911 deals. Well, of course, the market value of these trades amounted to 3,400,657,935.56 naira.
Interesting figures, and these are really significant numbers, Victor.
Of course.
But when we compare them to the various trading day, we notice a few changes. For example, the volume has actually decreased by 28%, and the turnover actually dropped by 61%, and the deals actually have a slight movement in this is around 1% improvement.
That's correct. Well, market dynamics can shift quickly, and these numbers of course reflect the participants' sentiment on that particular day. Now, talking about the Nigeria Securities Exchange current market capitalization, it is still a substantial 36.9 trillion Nigerian naira.
Still impressive, because we all know Nigeria is still a big dog among all the other securities exchange, and it really shows the importance of the NSE stock exchange in the country's financial landscape.
Obviously. Well, delving right into the individual stock performances of the 116 equities that participated in trading, 26 registered gains. Actually 26 registered gains, while 23 recorded losses. But of course, it was interesting to see which stocks were driving the market. And today, as of today, of course, the top gainer was BUA Cement, with a remarkable 10% share appreciation, and of course closing at 103.40 Nigerian naira per share.
Actually, BUA Cement certainly had a really strong day, in my opinion. As an investor, we haven't been seeing BUA around for some time. Would you really put your money here?
Well, in my perspective, BUA has had a really fluctuant season, and they have been here and there. They've been up and down, up and down. But of course, as it is an exchange market, you expect prices to go up. You don't expect them to stay in one place. But of course, for a person, personally, I know that I am risk averse, so I'm always going to want a listed equity that behaves like this, because I know there is business going on.
Exactly. And BUA Cement was actually followed by Consolidated Hallmark Insurance, and up by around 9.8%, and Nigerian breweries with around 9.09% share appreciation gain, and John Holt, which rose by 8.11%. Those
are some healthy gains, don't you think?
I think they are.
Well, of course, on the flip side, which stocks do you think struggled the most?
Victor, we had Prestige Assurance Company. It had a challenging day. And I think I heard you at some point say you would actually invest in Prestige Assurance Company.
I think I take that back, because a 10% price drop is a big one. It really is.
Okay.
And of course, closing at 0.45 naira per share, I feel like there's still some waiting to do. Let's first wait and see how this week treats.
So I think we actually see the importance of investors actually looking out for the market performances before actually putting money there.
Obviously.
Because this is not all about influence and all what you want to call it. Anyway, so we have FTN Cocoa Processors that saw an 8.33% loss, and Nathem International Pharma that slipped by 7.74%, and Sovereign Trust Insurance that recorded a 5% decline.
Well, of course, it is essential for investors to keep an eye on both gainers and losers, as this information can provide insights into market trends. But of course, talking about the stocks that dominated the trading floor in terms of volume, I am of course curious to know which stocks were in the limelight of the day.
Well, the spotlight was on Associated Bus Company. Have you seen it around before though?
Not really,
Okay.
but I've always known it is a listed company, just that their performance kind of lacked a bit.
Exactly. So, well, this time around, it recorded the highest volume of the day with around 29.3 million shares changing hands.
Well, of course, I'm also seeing Access Holdings that came in a close second with 29.2 million shares, followed by Owando at 27.1 million and United Bank of Africa at 23.8 million shares.
Well, Owando is a big dog too.
It really is.
Exactly, and some of the substantial trading volumes clearly the investors were active in these stock exchanges.
Absolutely. Now, of course, shifting our focus to the performance of the market indices, it is always a crucial aspect of market analysis. And of course, I'd want to know, how did they perform?
The Nigeria Securities Exchange All Share Price Index closed off at 67,100 and 0.33 points, marking it at a 0.97% increase of the day. So actually this index is a significant indicator of the overall market performance on the Nigerian Securities Exchange.
So despite some ups and downs, the All Share Index managed to finish the day in the green. It is interesting to note that this represents a 1 week gain of 1.08%, as well as a 4-week loss of 1.44%.
Exactly, and looking at these, we had the Nigerian Securities Exchange Top 30 Index that had a 1% gain today, and reflecting a 1 week gain of around 1.08% and an impressive year-to-year gain of around 33.97%. So this index actually tracks the top 30 companies listed on the Nigerian Securities Exchange.
That is indeed a significant gain for the top companies. And what about the Nigeria Securities Exchange Top 50 Index?
The top 50 index actually increased by 0.53%, and but it's important to know that it experienced a 1 week loss of 0.53%. So, but however, the year-to-year date gain stands at an impressive 42.5%.
So while the short-term performance may have dipped slightly, the long-term outlook of these top 50 companies appears strong. And it is also worth mentioning that the Nigeria Securities Exchange Industrial Index showed remarkable growth today, up by 4.03%. And of course, this index tracks companies in the industrial sector, and it posted a 1 week gain of 2.6%, contributing to its year-to-date gain of 13.68%.
That's interesting, and it's fascinating to see how these different sectors are actually performing in the market, Victor.
Of course, and I'm sure we all know this helps investors to make informed decisions based on sector-specific trends. And of course, let's not forget the Nigeria Securities Exchange Main Board Index, which had 1.67% gain today, and a 1 week gain of 5.65%, as well as a year-to-date gain of 33.92%. A strong performance by the main board is a positive sign of the broader market.
Exactly.
But how about the insurance sector?
Well, the Nigerian Stock Exchange Insurance Index had about 1.23% gain in the last trading day, although it did experience a 1 week loss of 1.92%. However, the year-to-year date gain remains at an impressive 59.19%. And this seems like the insurance sector really had a mixed week, but it's still doing well in the long run. Lastly, what would you like to tell us about the pension index?
Well, the Nigeria Securities Exchange Pension Index increased by 1.22% today, reflecting a 1 week gain of 2.03% and an impressive year-to-date gain of 62.13%. This index focuses on companies that play a significant role in pension fund investments.
Interesting, and those figures are quite remarkable in my opinion, Victor. But overall, this seems like the Uganda Stock Exchange, the Nigerian Securities Exchange had an active and somehow volatile day. But in the long run, it seems to show positive figures.
Yes, indeed. It shows promise because I'm really in support of how they distribute these indices into different sectors. Insurance, we're seeing the pension fund investments also has its own index. We're seeing all these other indices. We have the 50 company, so they diversify these indices, and of course it helps in these indices to behave in different ways, hence affecting these companies in different ways. That creates this fairness within the market.
Exactly. That's the wrap-up summary we had from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, will allow us to give you more exciting updates that will come from the Lusaka Stock Exchange, Victor.
Certainly. So as of yesterday, as it was the beginning of this trading week, we saw some interesting movements within the Lusaka Exchange. And of course, a total of 39,227 shares were traded. And of course, they were exchanged in 40 deals with a total market value of 161,979.06.
Those numbers certainly quite catch the eye, Victor, and but when we compare them to the previous trading day, we notice a few changes.
We do.
The volume has increased by 14%. Turnover has improved by 16%, but the deals have declined by 53%.
That's correct, Gloria, and it is essential to analyze these metrics because they give us insights into market dynamics. Now, of course, talking about the current market capitalization of the Lusaka Securities Exchange, it still stands at 83.6 billion. So
Interesting.
Of course, this figure underscores the significance of the Lusaka Securities Exchange in Zambia's financial landscape.
Isn't this the biggest market capitalization so far over all the securities we've seen?
Certainly not. Because we have seen trillions within the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Perfect.
We have seen trillions within the Johannesburg Securities Exchange. And of course, it is important to note that this is indeed an underscore within this Securities Exchange, and it requires a lot more judging by Zambia's financial landscape.
Exactly. And it's a positive start of the trading week. So could you tell us more about its top gainers, Victor?
So, of course, the two gainers today were Zambeef Products, which saw a significant increase which was 13.9%, and Standard Chartered Bank with a 7.14% gain.
Impressive. And looking at the stocks that didn't perform as well, we didn't have losers apparently on the trading day, and this is a promising sign when the market avoids any significant declines.
It really is, but we still want to highlight the volumes, the spotlight in terms of volume. The highest volume was recorded by Zambia National Commercial Bank with 27,700 shares traded. We have Copperbelt Energy Corporation, followed by, of course, it had 7,093 shares. We have Puma Energy with 2,300 and Standard Chartered Bank with 1,100 shares. And I think we're all noticing how the energy companies are coming up.
Well, this may not be high volumes compared with other exchanges, but still is significant for the Lusaka Stock Exchange.
It is promising, especially because we're seeing no losers.
Exactly. Let's take a closer look to its market indices and how they performed.
Well, of course, the Lusaka Securities Exchange All Share Index had a positive day, closing at 9,414.37 points. This marked a 0.64% increase for the day. And additionally, the All Share Index showed a one-week gain of 0.75%, as well as a four-week gain of 2.95%, and an impressive year-to-date gain of 28.3%.
Actually, despite its relatively smaller size compared to the other securities, the Lusaka Stock Exchange continues to show us positive movements.
It really does. But of course, it is essential to consider the performance of smaller exchanges like the Lusaka Securities Exchange, as of course they often present unique opportunities for investors, especially beginning investors.
Exactly. Thank you for watching us as we were giving you insights concerning the Lusaka Securities Exchange that is in Zimbabwe. Now, that's where we're going next. We'll have to give you insights on how it went down on the stock exchange.
Of course, as it is a pleasure to speak about the Zimbabwe Securities Exchange, on the previous trading day, or the last trading day, we saw a total of 949,300 shares change hands on their stock exchange, with a corresponding market value of 452,820.40. However, when we compare these figures to the previous trading day, we notice a decline of 72%, as well as in volume, of course, then as well as a 43% decline in turnover.
And that's quite a significant drop, Victor, in the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And it is essential to analyze the trends to understand what might be driving them. So now let's discuss the market capitalization of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange.
Absolutely. So the Zimbabwe Securities Exchange currently boasts a market capitalization of 10.9 trillion kwacha. This reflects the overall value of the stocks listed in the exchange.
Exactly. And moving on to the individual stock performances of the 18 Zimbabwe listed equities that participated in yesterday's trading session, we had 7 recorded gains and we saw 8 losers. So it's always interesting to see how these are moving in the market.
That's right, Gloria. So of course, beginning with the gainers, leading the pack was CBZ Holdings, which experienced an impressive 15 share price appreciation and closing at 1,240.10 per share. We have Nampak Zimbabwe, which followed with a 13.99% gain. We have Sidco with a 5.76% increase, and we have Tunnel Holdings with a 3.4% rise.
Interesting gainers out there, and on the flip side, on the other side of the spectrum, we had notable losers. And this time around, we had Edgar Stores that had a share price depreciation of 12.74% to close at around 89.5264 per share. Then we had FBC Holdings followed with 10.11% decline. We had Ariston Holdings too with around 7.47% decreases, and Wilden Zimbabwe with 1.08% loss.
Of course, it is always a mix of winners and losers in the market. Now, diving into the stocks that drew the most attention in terms of trading value, the stock that captured the most attention today was the Edgar Stores, with a volume of 568,200 traded shares. Following closely was Delta Corporation with 146,500 shares. Then we saw Econet Wireless Zimbabwe with 120,000 shares traded. We saw Star Africa Corporation with 62,300 shares.
Well, these volumes actually provide valuable insights into the investor sentiment.
Of course.
And going into the market indices of Zambia, we had the benchmark all-share index that had a positive day, closing at around 131,814.26 points, reflecting a 0.38% increase. When we look at its performance all over the last week, we see a loss of 1.09%. But over the past 4 weeks, it gained around 0.77%.
Then the year-to-date performance?
The year-to-date performance is particularly impressive, actually. It's showing around 576.18%.
Oh, that is a really impressive figure right there. But those figures, of course, demonstrate that the Zimbabwe Securities Exchange All-Share Index has had a fruitful year so far. And it is also worth mentioning other significant indices like the Zimbabwe Securities Exchange Top 10 Index, as well as the Top 15 Index and the Small Cap Index. Of course, not forgetting the Medium Cap Index, Industrials Index, and the Financials Index, which of course have also shown unique dynamics.
Exactly. And Victor, as an investor, in your opinion, when we captured that Edgar Stores that had a volume of around 568,200 traded shares, around the Delta Corporation, Econet Wireless Zimbabwe, and Star Africa Corporation, where would you put your money? Where would you invest?
Of course, first of all, I'd want us to highlight the fact that Edgar Stores was at the top of the list of losers. So of course I do believe we can do better, because Edgar Stores can do better. With a total of 568,200 traded shares, I feel like there's a lot of promise there. And of course, it topping the list of losers means any time from now it will be listed as a gainer. So of course, in my opinion, I would put all my eggs in one basket with Edgar Stores.
You know, Victor, in my opinion, I wouldn't do that. Exactly. I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket, Victor, because the best thing to do when working with these markets is to diversify your economy. So you put down in one basket, it's going to crash. We're going to lose all the eggs. So
well, like I said, I'm a risk taker.
Well, certainly.
I'm looking at a short-term picture, but of course in this case it is we regard to it as a boom kind of thing. As a financial analyst, we talk about a boom. Looking at its shares, it's topping the list of losers with such a remarkable number of traded shares shows anytime from now its charts are going to skyrocket. And that is exactly what we call a boom. Putting my eggs in one basket is not for a long term. The moment this boom happens and I receive my multiplied dividends, I will pull out some and then diversify. Let the market create what you use to diversify. Do not diversify using your equity. That is not advisable, according to the way I analyze it.
Interesting. Dear viewers, we'll be back with more updates concerning the Malawi Stock Exchange and other stock exchanges. Allow us to go for a short break. We'll be back shortly.